Survivor Series has come and gone, and that was a pay-per-view. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 34 of Under the Middle Rope. I'm your host, Jose Tabuada, and yes, Survivor Series has come and gone, and I don't know. It was an alright pay-per-view, I guess, to start off the bat. My initial thoughts. I get deeper into my thoughts in the discussion, and of course, so do RJ, Nick, and Pete, who are back. Obviously, we have a new Under the Middle Rope champion who now won't defend that until the Royal Rumble in January. So obviously, that's something to look forward to. But yeah, we look at Survivor Series, and I don't know. It's up in the air. Somewhat disappointed for the most part. But again, like I said, we get into it. Everybody else gets into it, and of course, we discuss that interesting Undertaker moment. So a lot to talk about, and no more time to waste. So the only thing I can say right now is just sit back, relax, and enjoy our Survivor Series fallout. Hey everybody, welcome to the discussion. Pete, Nick, RJ, everybody from last week is back, of course, because we got to review what we predicted last week. As I said in the introduction, I think it was an okay Survivor Series, not like one of the best of all time. Certainly wasn't as good as when we went. RJ and I went in 2016. And I think it's just been slacking in recent years. So actually, no, last year's was great. So this year's was on par. But of course, before we do anything, as always, we need to get to the predictions results. And the man who claimed to have never lost his title ended up regaining it back. Nick is your podcast champion as he drinks away. Is that alcohol?
No, it's just juice.
Oh, it's just juice. Okay, for a man that tells us that he has his own beer machine, like his own keg, his own like a little machine, the guy that just loves gin and everything, and it's like, all right, he's drinking juice.
It's chilling, ready for later. Don't worry.
Well, congratulations to you. Let's take a look at that predictions table one more time. There it is. RJ. Oh, bless your heart, RJ. I mean, him and Nick had the exact same picks, if you remember from last week, and it was just the time that screwed him over.
Even if I didn't go like 47, though, I probably still would have gone in like the 30s somewhere. Like I was never gonna get 18 minutes. Like that was over so quickly.
Yeah, I don't think anyone get that low.
Gosh.
1858 was the estimated time for the men's Survivor Series match. Yeah, like RJ said, and as the time says, quickly it ended up being like quicker than we all thought it was gonna be. We're gonna go in order of discussion with the matches that we have here on or actually no, let's go through the order of how it properly should be. So we're gonna open up with the discussion of the men's Survivor Series match. That opened up the night surprisingly, Team Raw versus Team SmackDown, and in a surprising twist, Team Raw swept. They swept the whole thing. They quickly took care of SmackDown. I mean, I was confident that Team SmackDown was gonna win, but of course, like I think it was Nick was saying last week, or somebody here said it, that when a team is so distraught or so disorganized leading up to a Survivor Series event, they tend to win. And that got me badly. So, and I mean, yeah, despite how quick it wasn't like the best Survivor Series match that I've seen in recent years. I've seen better. It was not like the be all end all, I guess. I don't know. It was like, nah. Pete, let's start with you on this because, yeah.
I think Mia is probably the best way to describe this. It felt like a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
I just don't know what the point of it was. I like that they kind of made it so they earned themselves a title shot on Raw the next night. But it would have been nice if they said that in advance. Mm-hmm. That would have been like quite a good idea to actually add some stakes into this match beforehand. But so be it. As soon as Seth Rollins got eliminated, though, I said this is going to be a clean sweep.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as he did that. And Seth Rollins keeping up his I don't want to wrestle Matt Riddle in the ring. So just immediately went, okay, kick me in the head and eliminate me. Good stuff. It was a waste of time. It was fairly crap.
I mean, can we say that maybe this leads? I mean, if I had to book already for WrestleMania season, Riddle, Seth Rollins at Mania in some shape or form? No.
No, one's on Raw, one's on SmackDown.
One's on Raw, one's on SmackDown. Yeah. Ugh. I don't.
And also, I don't really want to see that. So,
I mean, Matt Riddle's overrated anyway. So I mean, Matt
he had a fantastic match last night.
So I heard. So I heard. I didn't see Raw last night. But yeah. good for him, I guess. I don't know. Nick?
I completely agree, and this is just meh. When you watch a show and there's not really a lot you can remember about it, that kind of proves how bad it was. The only thing I really remember from this match is the Rollins thing, being eliminated straight away. And like Pete said, as soon as that happened, I think it was pretty adamant that was Raw were going to clean sweep them. It was probably the right result because they didn't acknowledge that SmackDown were much of a team for the whole build-up of it. So, and it was really short as well, like 18 minutes, did you say?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as it's ironic to say, because given like how much I've this stated like my dislike for Corbin, but as soon as Corbin was gone, even then I'm like, oh, this is most likely like kind of like I started to go on Pete's mindset. It's gonna be a sweep. Rollins went out in 6 minutes. Then it was Kevin Owens 6 minutes later. A minute later it was Corbin, and then Otis and Jey Uso followed suit. Again, it's just very 1925 by the way was the rough confirmed time. I know I said 1858 and estimated because of course we time it ourselves, and that's like where we get our basis for the tiebreaker. But yeah, it was just RJ.
Yeah, I mean, looking into it, I guess afterwards, I guess the right result was the clean sweep because when you look at the two teams, obviously Raw was pretty damn stacked, and SmackDown, I think it was perceived that Jey Uso was the captain of that team. I think towards the end of the night, I think that was the idea that Jey was the captain, and then Roman, you let them down. I think they acknowledged that or maybe the night after on Raw. I think they said that Jey Uso was definitely the captain. And then you got like 5 actual main eventers on the other team. As much as I'm not a huge Matt Riddle guy, he's obviously perceived as a main eventer, as he now has a shot at the title. So, I mean, the teams are very lopsided, especially after, obviously, Seth took himself out of it. Yeah, it is what it is. There was a squash, which I guess I'm okay with the result of that because, obviously, the teams were a little lopsided, and I picked Raw, even though it didn't end up mattering. But yeah, it was I guess the right result. Just like if you didn't watch this match, you didn't really miss anything.
It's funny you bring up like lopsided because I mean like you had guys like Rollins, like Kevin Owens. I know Corbin and Otis are
got
not
like Otis, and I mean it's still Jey Uso.
Is Corbin or is Jey Uso any worse than Riddle, Sheamus, for example?
That's what I mean. It's hard. I feel like it's hard to say it's lopsided.
I feel like they kind of match up almost person for person. Like if you said like Seth Rollins to AJ Styles, nothing in that. Like Kevin Owens, Keith Lee, you could probably match up. The big difference is just Braun Strowman.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Like
I guess leading
that much in star power, the actual build up, they only actually gave the Raw team any story, didn't give the SmackDown team any story.
Right, and I think just what the RJ said in terms of the lead up, I mean, like on paper, and like I guess what our expectations are as a fan, yeah, Kevin Owens is technically a big name that we'd all prefer once again back in the main event scene because it felt like since the Universal run there hasn't been nothing since. I agree.
They're still not really doing anything with any of them on SmackDown either, though, right? Like Seth's a big name, but he's just wrestling Ray's son and Murphy.
I mean, Jey Uso's probably the biggest name wise over there at the moment. He's just been in 2 Universal title matches.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I still feel like it's still just Jey Uso at the end of the day, in my opinion. As much as it's not supposed to be, and he's done really good work since he's been pushed into the main event, like it's still Jey Uso.
And I mean, Jey Uso obviously had a big part in the main event, which we're going to get to later. So I guess good for him that he's become this established solo star, and it kind of makes you wonder what happens when Jimmy comes back. If he were to come back, I guess I don't know what his status is.
He just joins up with Roman and him at some point.
Probably.
And Rollins, I assume, is Rollins gone to the Rumble now? Do you think?
Maybe.
Becky giving birth soon.
Yeah, right. With Becky, presume. Yeah, like Nick said, presume that this is Rollins' kayfabe exit to take care of his newborn child.
It's a pretty shitty kayfabe exit to get kicked in the face.
Yeah, one kick to the face.
Can we not have someone put him out on the shelf? Actually, like that.
Have his eye taken out or something.
Well, maybe not.
Yeah.
Damage.
Someone said they could see you coming back at the Rumble.
Absolutely destroy him
again.
The Rumble.
I mean, I guess online I could see him coming back at the Rumble as a babyface again. And I don't know if I'm ready for that yet.
No, he's just such a twat. I don't want to cheer him.
I think you need an extended period of him away, not a couple of months. I think he needs probably 6 months off if he wanted to do that.
Yeah, I think he would need to be weirdly, as bad as it sounds, he'd almost need to be legit injured,
like he was last time.
Like, do you know? Like as bad as it sounds, like when Roman went away, came back obviously after leukemia and stuff. You are suddenly the big face. When Edge got injured, came back at the Rumble, you come back as the big face because we've missed you by being out for 8 months.
Mm.
And I said Rollins before, when he basically broke his ankle or whatever it was, and then came back to attack Roman Reigns, he got the big pop cheer because, oh my God, this guy's coming back after because we've missed him because he's been gone for that long.
And when it's a real injury, you also garner like real sympathy for that person too. Like
exactly,
Roman's gone with leukemia. It's like all of a sudden people that hate him are like, oh my God, like this is his real, like this real person now has these real and then you garner sympathy for him. And then same thing with Seth. Like he was a heel when he got hurt, came back, everybody's like, oh, we missed you. So I completely agree with Pete's point.
And I mean, and not to mention, I mean, like leading up to WrestleMania 33 too, right? When Rollins came back the first time after the Royal Rumble, Samoa Joe accidentally injured him again, and then his status for WrestleMania was up in the air with Triple H, and then I think he ended up just going through it. He obviously went through it anyways, but I think he was in pain, and I think he barely got cleared or was like on the brink of being cleared. A doctor said, just screw it, go for it. Or Rollins says, screw it, I want to go for it. I'll deal with the injury later because it's WrestleMania, right? So
when he first came back as well,
he came through a table. So it was great.
Nick?
When he first came back as well, they still brought him back as a heel, which I think was a bit of a strange
for sure
choice. He only turned face after Balor got injured. Triple H turned them in the Fatal 4.
Right, and then turned on him, yeah. So in conclusion, what we're all saying collectively as a group is that we want somebody to break their ankle and tear their ACL. Right?
Yes. I think they have to if they want to be a star.
So we're all hoping that they hurt themselves severely, get in a career-threatening situation.
Not career-threatening, no, just like long-term absence.
Yeah,
definitely
6
will
months
come
to
back.
a year.
Guaranteed return at the end of it.
We'll miss you, but break your arm, please. And
yeah, exactly.
We are all monsters. Let's move on to one of two highlights of in terms of good stuff of Survivor Series, the tag team champions versus champion match, the Street Profits defeating the New Day. I was confident the New Day was winning because it's the New Day. They're the top team in WWE, right? Like, how could you not beat the Street Profits? Incredible match. I'm a big fan of it. More and more I love Montez Ford. The guy is just so good, and I feel like we don't talk about enough stuff for example, this frog splash that's just so ridiculously good, and the height that he gets on it. I love these two teams. Great stuff from Survivor Series. I guess good on the Street Profits to give them that rub to keep them elevating to a legit established tag team. I like that because I feel like we don't have too many established tag teams anymore. Like we said last week with the makeshift tag teams that we're getting and whatnot. So this is good. This is good for them to show that, hey, the Street Profits are a legit thing. Obviously, I kind of hope that they don't do the traditional heel versus face situation if they ever do break them up, but I'm liking where they are, so good on them. RJ, let's start with you on this.
Yeah, I really love this match too. It was fast. It was fast paced. It was, I really like Montez Ford, the selling of the ribs. It had good psychology. The whole thing. I really liked this match. It was good tag team wrestling. I was I mentioned this to Jose before the match, before the pay-per-view. I was kind of holding out hope that Big E might turn heel on New Day because I don't know when this. I know that some people don't want it to happen, but I'm at the point where it's you've already kind of broken them up. And they're on separate shows. Why not start teasing it or consider playing with it a little bit? I was kind of hoping that they would maybe pull the trigger on this tonight. Obviously, I'm not surprised that they didn't. But the match was really good, and I'm glad that they got a nice, clean victory. So,
damn you, Roy Jordan! Damn you! No, I
mean, in the back of my mind a little bit, I'm like, why don't we just try it? They can always put them back together at some point.
To be fair to RJ, as I started there like Porky Pig, to be fair to RJ, I mean, you need to establish this guy as a big guy if everybody wants him. I cannot speak today. If everybody wants him to be in the main event picture, I get it. I also don't like it.
People want him to have more serious character, and it can still happen with the New Day, but I just feel like if you're ever gonna really kind of push the waters with Big E and do this heel time, why not try it now? Especially with all these people clamoring for him to win the Rumble and make it to WrestleMania and stuff. You can't do that with the current.
People want him to win the Rumble.
I've seen that everywhere.
Yeah,
tons of people want him to win the Rumble.
That's
and that can't happen.
Wolf wants him to win the Rumble.
That's the last thing I want to see is Big E win the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, until he turns heel and he has a character
build him up.
No, I disagree with the heel turn completely.
So do I.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not I think he can be a good face, a good serious face contender, but and we've been talking about Big E since
SummerSlam.
since SummerSlam, I think, on this podcast in terms of like what to do with this direction, talking about like how people wanted him for WrestleMania. Here we are a few months later, and still feel like there's nothing there for the guy. It's like, how do you want this to win the Royal? How do you want this guy to win the Royal Rumble? It's I don't know. I guess you can build them. You can still build them up now, but I wouldn't be surprised if they give him like the 2 week, if they want him to win the 2-3 week push, and he's going to be the most convincing character to win the Royal Rumble, and all of a sudden wins it. It's just like, wait, did you just give him like 2 weeks and then all of a sudden just throw this onto him instead of like just building it up months in advance? But
what was your thoughts on Drew winning the Rumble last year?
I loved it. I mean, like he
was given about a 3-week build for that.
To be in Drew's defense, though, I mean, this is also a guy who won the NXT title, who was being placed in tag team. He was still a predominant figure in the lead up to that Royal Rumble. I could be wrong.
Wasn't he? With Ziggler. He was with Ziggler and Heel and Strowman and stuff in the build up. And then
he was still like a big.
He turned face in like November, December-ish, and started doing his 3-2-1 countdown to Claymores.
Right.
And only about a month before the Rumble did they actually properly start building him as a big face.
But look what you just said. November, December. But let's say November.
I remember
December,
choosing him to win it after
when
that.
he started to flip on him, right? They gave people enough time to start giving him like the cheers, and then eventually put into full throttle on the way to the.
My point is, you could still do that with Big E now, but you still need to actually do that with Big E now. What they haven't done so far is started building him at all. Like the last 4 weeks, he's just been in backstage segments with the Street Profits. So if you actually want to build him, you can still do it, but you need to start building him now, 2 months in advance of the Rumble. Start giving him, I don't know, have him put Seth Rollins on the shelf, give him that rub, have him start actually face some of the bigger competitors on SmackDown, start steamrolling through them, start actually establishing himself as a face now. So when the Rumble comes round, you might have that thing where you go, actually, I don't mind this guy winning. So I have nothing against Big E winning the Rumble. I have a lot against this Big E winning the Rumble.
Yeah.
I just think he needs to be developed before he can get to that stage.
I don't even think you need to start off with him beating established people, because when Drew had his sort of babyface run, he was beating people like No Way Jose, like week after week, and then they built him up to sort of Randy and AJ before he won the Rumble. I agree. As long as they give him sort of 4 or 5 week build, I'd be okay with him winning it. If the Rumble was tomorrow and Big E won it, I would be like, well, I don't really care. Yeah.
So in the build of the Rumble, if he starts taking out like Seth Rollins, he starts taking out like Jey Uso, if he starts taking out these guys,
then it's going to be convincing.
Single fashion, starts cutting a couple of big good promos, and then you actually have him at a point where you go, actually, this guy could win the Rumble. I'm not saying he's still my first choice, but at the moment he's not even in the choices for me. But by Rumble time, he could have been built up enough for me to actually go, you know what, I don't mind this.
Well, who's the last person that really got more than like a month build that won the Rumble anyway? Like, I feel like this is kind of what they do. He didn't. Yeah, Orton. Like, wasn't Orton kind of like
Nakamura was kind of.
I just said,
People thought Shinsuke was going to win, but was he really built up? Yeah, I guess so. But
he was he was kind of undefeated on SmackDown.
Well, I mean, no. Well, hold on. Aside from the what RJ just said and Pete just said, at the same time, when AJ was champ. As soon as AJ became champ, that's when everybody's already put it into their mind. Give it to us. We've seen it in New Japan. We want it now. And then the Rumble was already on the horizon. So you're like, please. Best drive to Philadelphia ever.
They're trying to think back. They started teasing out like TLC and stuff as well. So they had not TLC. Was it TLC or Money in the Bank even? Like earlier in the year, where they had just a little stare down and they pushed the ladder aside.
Yeah, it was the Money in the Bank,
and then got interrupted. Those type of things were hinted at way in advance.
So we've completely gone off the rails here.
What actually were we talking about?
I don't know.
You did Street
Profits.
No, I mean, no, I think you're all right, but it's we'll see what happens the next few months or so. But I don't know. I feel like again, just given Big E in the last few years, not necessarily just the last year, but the last few years, right? It's just there's never anything that screamed. And I guess if it is the time to finally establish it, it's like this minute, like right now.
So I think the point we were trying to make is Big E shouldn't turn heel. that was not it.
But he could.
He could. No, I don't even care if Big E turns heel. I just do not want the New Day turning on each other. I don't mind them splitting up. I don't mind going separate ways for a while. but I like the idea that they're always still friends.
We've
Still got each other's
No, that's
backs.
true. We've gone so off the rails. Nick, Pete, is there anything you guys wanted to add on to the Street Profits New Day match that we didn't?
Yeah, just this is what happens when you actually give actual tag teams who've been established as tag teams a chance to do tag team wrestling together, and you get good matches out of it. And it's weird how that works if you build up these long-term tag teams, and then those people compete in tag team wrestling together. It's good. But I would actually love to see a proper build between these two and a proper feud. And then I think you could get something like, I think it was 2017 New Day Usos feud, which was really, really good. And I think you could do something similar if you gave these two a proper build and a proper storyline. So this was a good match, but again, it suffered from the just not having the stakes.
Yeah,
involved.
Survivor Series. Nick.
Yeah, it was
Just called him Survivor Series.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was a really good match. Like Pete said, it's with having those stakes, it makes you sort of not care as much as you probably would if it did. But I thought the match was structured really well. New Day sort of worked heel during it, and the longer it went on, I thought New Day were going to win because obviously Montez hit his frog splash, he didn't pin him, and I thought, oh god, they're going to win now. But yeah, it was a really strong match, and I'd like to see it again.
Thanks, Survivor Series. Okay, so we're gonna move on. Oh my god,
Do we just all have a big 4 pay-per-view name? Can I be can I be the Rumble?
I'm you can call me Mr. WrestleMania.
Well, Jose's obviously want to be WrestleMania, you know that.
Thank you. Let's do, I guess, Pete SummerSlam. Let's move on to
the
Backlash.
That's the new big.
I would like to be Great Balls of Fire. Thank you very much.
As long as I'm still champion of the seas, that's all that matters to
me. And speaking of the champion of the seas, let's they did bring up the title situation.
No pullback, Shield. Outrageous.
Bobby Lashley, Sami Zayn. There is not the guy. If this went 7 minutes and 50 seconds, we should take seven seconds to talk about this match. It was just atrocious. It was bad. They spent more time talking about what we discussed last week on the rankings of what Bobby Lashley's a champion of, what Sammy's a champion of, and it's like, okay,
yeah.
Pete, anything else?
Do you remember 3 or 4 years ago when Sami Zayn was one of the best technical in-ring workers in WWE?
Great time.
Yeah, WWE don't remember that. Apparently.
Not a damn thing.
I hate how he wrestles in matches now. I hate this kind of. They basically treat him like he can't wrestle. Yeah, that's how he's booked in WWE now. This guy can't wrestle, but occasionally cheats and wins, and that's it. They kind of in that triple threat ladder match. I don't mind that type of one where you can use your handcuffs and get the heel wins and the cowardly heel wins, but you can still wrestle. Seth Rollins in his 2015 run, he was a cowardly heel. He used J&J security. He used all the cheap tactics in the books. But in the day, they still let him wrestle and they still let him compete and not be a complete pushover. Sami Zayn is just, if he can't cheat or get a cheap win, he's useless. I might as well be in that ring wrestling for how much he actually wrestles now. I hate it. This is absolutely shit.
Yeah,
this was shite. This match, it was terrible.
The Sami being tripped up by one of the members of who was it, Shelton Benjamin? He tries to pretend to be
MVP. I'm pretty sure.
Or was it MVP? I forgot who it was.
Yeah.
Really?
He tried to get MVP to hit him as well, and it was oh, get disqualified. And MVP's no, just fuck off.
Just do your thing. Nick?
I agree with everything Pete said. I love Sami Zayn as a wrestler. He's fantastic, and this was terrible. The first time he sort of jumped out of the ring, all right. Then he does it again and again, and by sort of the 4th, 5th time, I'm just fed up with it. I'm just put him in the hurt lock and end it. WWE just don't want to do anything with him, it seems. And like Pete said, it's fine if he does it every now and again, sort of being the chicken shit clever, I'm going to do this to sort of win the match. When it's constant and he doesn't hit any sort of moves, you just get a bit fed up with it. And yeah, I just don't have much more to say about this, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm just sad that I'm the only one that picked Sami. I was so confident. I'm like, guys, Sami's going to win this.
No, it was always going to be a Lashley squash, but it was...
Jose was wrong. RJ?
Yeah, see, like I even like don't mind Sammy's character right now. Like, be a little shit. Like, that's fine. Like, do your job. Like, he's doing a fine job at that outside of the ring. It's just like
Yeah.
let him wrestle. Like, he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. He was back when. And if he's hurt still, like, why is he holding your championship? Like, if he's hurt and you don't trust him to take big bumps, then why is he your Intercontinental Champion?
Well,
So obviously
he's clearly not hurt because
and
he
he's
just
clearly
completed a
not hurt.
threat ladder match.
Yeah, so obviously he's fine. So I don't know why they're not doing anything with him either. I like his work on the mic and in segments and outside of the ring, but in the ring they're not letting him do anything. So like he can still be a chicken shit and wrestle just like Pete said. So yeah, I agree. Match was crap. Right winner, I guess, but I would have liked to see Zayn win too. I don't know. Just useless match.
Yeah,
It's just so frustrating because he had like probably my favorite match over the last 5 years with him and Nakamura at Takeover 2016. And you just realize how good he actually can be, and they just don't let him.
Oh my
do
goodness.
anything.
Well,
I mean,
I would even go like
fantastic.
Owens at which one was it? Battleground.
Yeah, Battleground.
Yeah, I
that
think it was Battleground, the last one that
Incredible,
he
yeah.
won. Yeah,
And that's the thing about NXT. How many superstars have we said? How many wrestlers have we said that they were amazing in NXT? Oh my goodness! And then all of a sudden they get to the main card and then meh, gone. Bobby Lashley, Nakamura.
Bobby
No, I'm not
Lashley?
gonna.
Bobby Lashley. Was he in
Did I
it?
say Bobby Lashley? That's not
Bobby
one I
Roode?
just- Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode. Wow.
Um,
Ladies and gentlemen, why do I even have this
Aleister
podcast?
Black. That's the
Why
big
am
one.
I
Aleister
here
Black,
wasting
Buddy
my
Murphy,
time?
Finn Balor.
Yeah, there's a whole.
Ricochet.
I mean, well, some of those can still perform great in the ring, just victims of bad booking, et cetera, et cetera.
Andrade.
I feel like
Andrade's a
Riddle's
great
obviously,
the only
Riddle's
one they
obviously gone
really
from strength to strength.
The only one
RJ?
they really treated as a big deal right away was Kevin Owens, and even he's starting to kind of like go back down into like the mid card. Who cares about him anymore?
He's on
So,
cover.
And
for
and
NXT.
Drew and
Yeah.
Drew got the eventual build up to where he is, starting
Yeah,
off in
but,
attack.
but Drew's
Yeah, but he
a
was
bit weird
WWE
because-
before.
Yeah, but he's in WWE before, but then he also because he got injured in NXT. They just brought him back to the main roster rather than back in NXT. It wasn't really a normal call up, Drew. It was kind of a bit.
True.
There are a couple of people who've done better in WWE than NXT. So Corbin, for example, Elias. So there are a few that have actually the main roster has suited them better. It's just not that
He wasn't
many.
really on NXT though, was he?
No.
If you can sort of think of people that were sort of from
Yeah,
this
why?
version of NXT from sort of the last 5 years, who would you say is the biggest star that's gone to the main roster?
Well, Drew, but
Drew probably.
Yeah, but he doesn't count because he was on WWE
In the
before.
last 5
probably
years.
Kevin Owens.
So sort of this like sort of thing of NXT where they started it as a third brand, not
Probably
the-
Kevin Owens.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, I was about to say Seth Rollins, but I'm like, but Seth
He
was
was-
the 2012.
was
Yeah,
kind
it's
of prior
I
to it.
too far
I think
back.
hadn't
Yeah.
he got injured, Balor probably would have been
Yeah.
still up there, but then he got injured and he was a bit unlucky after that.
Yeah. I mean, you could say one of these two women that we're about to talk next, Sasha Banks
Yeah,
and
the
Asuka,
And women have been
with their
fine, yeah.
good segue. Yeah.
The women is fine.
Sasha Banks and Asuka, not too terrible. I mean, not like a 5-star, but because again, like Pete said last week, we've already seen this already like 85 times in 2020 alone. But Sasha gets her decisive victory over Asuka. Finally, I don't know if I'm right on that, because I feel like maybe there has been, or maybe there was, I don't know. But good to see Sasha getting like a nice clean win over Asuka, who, let's not forget, was at one point very undefeated and was instantly ruined after WrestleMania 34 thanks to Charlotte. Good old days. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for Sasha. I'm happy that, okay, like, to me, this win over Asuka, and this is bold, it already just makes her current title reign just significantly better than the other 4 that she had, because it's like she got a big decisive win over a big decisive individual.
She still has the title. So
I know. By default, she still has the title. Yes, I mean, I know this was not title, and we still have to wait to see if something happens at TLC, because we're going to presume that Carmella is going to be thrown into the mix leading up to the December pay-per-view. But I'm happy for Sasha. Like, this is what she needed. Good for her. Still, I guess, on her Mandalorian high, and rightfully so. I will take this. Pete?
I mean, she already won a rematch against Bayley as well, so that was already a boost on all the other title wins she's had. This match just really suffered from me not giving a shit about this match. We'd seen it a few months earlier.
Yeah,
and that was pretty much it. And when you're going to do this brand versus brand, this is the one time of the year when the match that you're advertising took place on a pay-per-view very, very recently. I don't why should I care that you're now doing it? The other match had an actual stakes to it. There was a title on the line when they last fought each other. This time, nothing. Because this was a good match, but honestly, I can't recall pretty much anything that happened in it. Because I just remember it being decent, but I just didn't care enough. So when I was watching it, I was kind of barely paying attention. So,
RJ?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these matches are going to fall into that same common theme where it was fine, but we didn't have any reason to care about it, obviously. I liked the match. I actually really liked the finishing sequence with all the roll-ups where Sasha was able to finally get one on her.
oh yeah, that's one.
I really like the finishing. I really like the finish there. I'm happy that Sasha won, but yeah, this match was there. It was just there, really. Like, it was good, but it was just there because I didn't really give like the rest of the pay-per-view. Like, I didn't really give much of a reason to care about this. So I don't think it was good as the tag match, but this match was fine.
Nick?
Yeah, like the guy said, it was fine, and I think it really suffered from the fact that we'd seen it 2 months ago.
Yeah.
No stakes. I think it was the right winner because Asuka kind of got forgotten about for a long time on Raw. The finish I quite liked actually because I don't really think there was much other way you could have done it by protecting both of them because they've both got submission finishes. They're not going to have either of them tap out to one another at the moment because they're both baby faces now. And that's literally the only thing I can remember from the match was the finish. It was fine.
Wow, I forgot what I was going to say. But
days when baby faces could tap out. Those were good days.
Good days.
And not be deemed, oh my god, you're so weak, you tapped out.
Yeah.
Like
I'm just trying to. I was just trying to think of like how many times, what pay-per-views did we see Asuka Sasha? I know Extreme Rules for sure. Was it SummerSlam as well? Yeah.
SummerSlam. It was Asuka versus Sasha and Asuka versus Bayley on the same night.
That's right. Well, I want to move on because as you can see, like these matches just didn't have too much talking points. Well, unless you completely just go off guard about Big E, but it's the next one. It's the next one that had me nearly on the floor of laughter because I called it last week. I mean, as many people did. I just don't think people when they called it, I don't think they expected it to happen like that. Of course, I'm talking about the women's 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination match, Team Raw, Team SmackDown. I mean, like, you know, when I kept saying Lana's gonna be the sole survivor, I mean, like you were confident, but you also just on the back of your mind, you're like, they're not really, right? And the fact that she's standing on the steps while Bianca Belair gets herself and Nia Jax counted out, and her standing all alone to be claimed as a sole survivor has to be one of the most funniest things I've seen in a long, long time. Because again, like of all ways to do that, to give her the title of sole survivor is that? I don't know. I mean, Bianca looked amazing. Bianca looked so strong, taking care of Shayna, Nia. She definitely held her own ground against two women like that. Peyton with the surprise elimination of Bayley, I'm like, okay, I'll take it. But Lana, poor Lana getting bullied, and that happens, and I'm like, this makes the night. There is nothing much to it other than, holy crap, this was hilarious. I'm still laughing at how it all went down. RJ?
So I thought this was actually really funny and really creative, to be honest with you.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah. So as soon as Nia and Bianca start running around the outside, I started just like dying of laughter. I'm like, I can't believe they're actually going to do this. Like, these guys are going to get counted out, and Lana's just going to be standing there on the stairs as the winner. And I thought it was hilarious. And I'll give this a thumbs up just for the overall reason that they actually kind of like followed through with the finish of a story, sort of. Like, these girls are all picking on Lana, saying how she's useless and how they're driving her through a table 9 times in a row, 9 weeks in a row, and how she's not going to help them win. And she stands there on the stairs, and she's the sole survivor. And because they sort of followed through with that, I'll give this one a half thumbs up, despite not really caring about the actual match. And then they followed through and gave Lana a nice victory on Raw the next day, leading to probably a tag team title match at like TLC or something. So they're following through with this Lana story. And as terrible as it is, I'm going to give them a thumbs up for some storytelling.
I mean, like, you,
I mean, I was expecting like Nia gets counted out, Bianca comes running in, right? Just trying to compose herself, and all of a sudden here comes Lana for the roll up. I know oh man, it was done pretty well, I think. I don't know if I want to say that. I know
it's like
I'm gonna get
bad in like a funny way, I guess. Like I don't know. I'll take it.
Oh my goodness. Nick, let's go to you because Pete, I want to save you for last because you have a lot to say. Nick.
Right.
I completely disagree with everything RJ said. I absolutely hated this. I thought it was terrible. I don't care about Lana. I don't like the whole putting her through a table for 9 weeks in a row was funny for about 2. After that, I don't buy her as a babyface. I don't care about her. I thought this match was all going to be about Bianca Belair sort of running through everyone, and I think she got 1 elimination, maybe. Obviously, Shayna got DQ'd from choking her on the ropes. And like RJ said, they've sort of done this thing of that they've made her seem useless. She was still useless. She stood on the stairs and did nothing. She won the match by doing nothing. So they still sort of portray her as useless. And the second Bayley went out, I kind of thought, well, Raw are definitely going to win this now because I couldn't see the rest of them sort of going through the whole team. Yeah.
I just want to point out, and I feel like this what is not being spoken enough among the community. Unless you're a natural, there are legit like Lana diehards, like.
Is there?
Oh yeah, there's. If you were to go through like, yeah, if you were to go through like one of her Instagram posts, and she talks about like how she wants to be, she'll be courageous and fighting. I mean, like you have people in the comments, oh my god, I love you so much, you deserve this, you deserve everything. Cannot wait for you to be a women's champion. Blah 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 blah. I'm like.
Yeah, but I mean, Dana Brooke could do that, and she'll probably get the same response.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like
we underestimate the people that are on Instagram commenting on these.
I know. I'm just saying there are a lot of people, and then like the
stories, burner accounts,
and then the story, and then the stories that Lana shares and whatnot. I mean, like you have a lot of like fans, a lot of passionate fans about her. You'll see like she'll post on her stories. I'm like, okay, all right, people are fans. But what I was trying to get at is. She was not, and I feel like I'm getting a shot. Her little stint with Natalya in the match before she got sent to the steps, it wasn't that bad
for her.
For her,
she's getting a little better.
She's getting a little bit. I'm not
but saying she started off as like a non-wrestler, so she's got to get better.
I know. It can only go up. But I'm just saying that little sequence she had with
Eva
Natalya,
Marie got better.
I'm just saying it wasn't bad. That's all I'm gonna say.
I guess it wasn't Natalya it wasn't or something like that too.
It wasn't a terrible outing against Natalya in that bit before she got sent to the stairs of the Shadow Realm. That's it. Like it wasn't that bad. Okay, Pete, I want to go to you. Let's go.
Like, admittedly, if you learn one sequence in wrestling, you should be able to do that one sequence in wrestling. It's can you carry a 5 to 10 minute match? And the answer is basically no. It's the same with Eva Marie back in the day. Yes, eventually she got a bit better, but she was still worse than everybody else on your roster who isn't getting any of the time that you're giving this. This is the worst ending of any Survivor Series match ever. This was utter shit, garbage, terrible booking. Like, she stood on the steps. That's how you win. You have and Bianca Belair looked strong. She didn't. Now, like Shayna Baszler got disqualified, choking her out, and then Nia Jax got counted out herself at the same time. So it wasn't like she ran through those two and then just unfortunately lost. Nobody came out of this looking good in my eyes. Like probably the best one was Peyton Royce, who got the sneaky pin on Bayley. So no, it's terrible. And then worst of all, they then decided that Lana standing on the steps at the end of the match is worthy of a title match.
Well,
they went, okay, you were stood on the steps at the end, didn't hit a move, technically won the match. We'll give you a match against Asuka for the title. Why not? It's just.
But that's the ironic thing. It's like she is on paper the sole survivor. It's like a sole survivor. It's sole survivor.
On paper, the coin beat Jose, but it doesn't even matter.
And has there always been like countouts and disqualifications in these matches?
There is, but it doesn't finish it.
There should be.
Like,
I mean,
it's usually like Roman usually gets eliminated by countout because I don't want to give anyone that pin.
I want to say like when RJ when you and I went
Braun Strowman, I think.
Oh, they got counted because he went to the table.
Yeah.
Oh no,
So
and then James Ellsworth grabbed his leg when he was trying to get back in or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
so countouts have always happened.
Kevin-
countouts and disqualifications are usually
Kevin Owens was disqualified in that 2016 5-on-5 match.
Yeah.
Shane McMahon was unable to continue because of the nasty concussion he got after the spear from trying to do the coast to coast. And then in the women's that night, Naomi was counted out. That's it.
So when I think of Survivor Series, though, you think of like a guy coming out of it looking big. You think of big stories. You look at like someone getting that great rub at the end of the match. You think of like
Keith Lee from last year.
Keith Lee last year. You think of like Kofi Kingston when he got like his double elimination at the end. You think of like all your Soul Survivors, people like Randy Orton getting those rubs, Dolph Ziggler against the Authority getting those rubs. You always go back to these matches. Oh, it's got big stakes in it, and you think, who came out of this match looking good? This guy got the 3 eliminations. They came out of it looking good. And in both of these matches, it didn't benefit anybody in either of them. And that is probably, in terms of like Survivor Series matches, the worst they've ever done. Because neither Survivor Series match benefited any person.
I will say this. I feel like giving everybody on the men's side of Raw, each of them an elimination to get the win, and then you kind of build up on that because it's like, hey, you know what? I got an elimination. No, I got an elimination. Yeah. Okay, let's have a little tournament.
Well, what would have almost been better is if one of them had eliminated 4, said they carried the team, got the huge rub out of it, and become a big contender for Drew. That would have almost been like a more logical thing.
Yes, but I'm just saying, like, with how the men's ended up working with the tournament after, and then eventually setting up for the potential number 1 contenders, it kind of worked out because everybody got that even situation. I mean, yeah, sure. In hindsight, with this Lana situation and how she got the win, it's like, okay, it's like, what are we doing?
It was garbage.
It was garbage. Damn funny.
The actual wrestling in the match was fine, but this match was. And Nick said, like, when Bayley got eliminated, he's like, "Oh, Raw's winning." I was actually still like thinking they could give Bianca this rub. This could be the big push time. She could steamroll the last 3 members, and Lana still could have done something in that match. She could have cost Nia Jax in the match, for example, and got Nia Jax eliminated, and almost wandered off.
This is what makes me. Sorry, go.
So I was just going to say, like, if you had like a scenario of booking it, you have them eliminate like 3 people on SmackDown and maybe 1 person on Raw, and it comes to like Bianca Belair versus 4 people. It's like Lana, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, and like 1 other. Then you have Lana cost Nia Jax herself, giving Bianca that pin. Lana then just walks off and says, "I'm not part of this. You didn't want me on the team anyway." She walks off. Then Bianca Belair rallies strong to actually win it as the underdog. You've built a star in the process, and you've still furthered the Lana storyline. If you really want to further the Lana storyline, which I don't know why you would want to do that, because it's terrible.
See, like the other thing is like, I mean, like a lot. I mean, I know a lot of people always talk about like, hey, like what it's like, what the lead, like the build up or like where the direction is going, right? And I felt like, I mean, to me, and I never saw a situation where Bianca was going to steamroll. The only situation that I saw going into this match was Lana is going to find a way to become Soul Survivor because of how they were building us up. That's why I'm a little bit surprised. I mean, like, Bianca's amazing, don't get me wrong, but to me, and maybe it's because I only saw Raw, I don't know, but to me, the only solution and the only like conclusion that this was going to get was Lana as a Soul Survivor. But again, I anticipated it to be like a sneaky roll up at the end of it to clinch the win, not the count out that ended up happening. That's why I'm like, it's like, I feel like there was no other solution other than.
But did anyone actually want to see Lana as Soul Survivor?
No, well, no, but that's the thing. Nobody did. But again, like, you're also anticipating that this is going to happen, but we don't want it.
Yes, but even then, they still did badly. But then you look back and say like the 2014 one, where I was saying like the Dolph Ziggler Authority, etc. And you look at that match, and no one expected Dolph Ziggler to suddenly come out and win like the 3-on-1 at the end going into that match. Nobody thought it was going to be Dolph Ziggler.
Nobody anticipated Sting either.
No, but that's my point is just because no one anticipates it doesn't mean you can't build a star out of the match when it actually happens. And that's kind of the beauty of Survivor Series is anything should be able to happen. Anyone could come out on top. Anyone could be the sole survivor at the end of this. And anyone could get that star-making rub. As you said, Keith Lee last year, even though he didn't win it, he pretty much took Seth and Roman to their limits at the end. against like two of the most established stars in WWE at the time. So you can still, even when you don't anticipate that person winning or having like that big moment, give them that big moment. And that's the joy of having a Survivor Series match. And both Survivor Series matches this year didn't do that.
Well, we do have to move on because we are slowly cutting it close for time here. But it's completely fair points. It's at the end of the day, I mean, we are still talking about it. So, and I feel like we're going to be talking for a while and see what happens with Lana. But I do want to get to the next match because we have the other big thing to talk about at the end of it all. Drew versus Roman. We're going to jump to that right now. I mean, as somebody who saw Drew and Roman in person at WrestleMania at MetLife last year, this match from Survivor Series was significantly better than what I saw at WrestleMania. Incredible. This was the show stealer. I mean, I was very happy that it wasn't there was no DQ, no count on finish. It was a straight, for the most part, straight clean win in terms of like just getting the pinfall without any complete disruptions. I know the referee was down, Jay was coming in, helps Roman, but again, no proper DQ, no count out to nullify them both. It was just, I liked it. I'm very happy with how it turned out. I figured Roman was going to get the win. Like I said, there was no way they're not giving Roman a loss here. So I liked it. I was a huge fan. Pete, let's go with you on this.
I love the match. And I say it's a lot better than the Mania match because the Mania match was basically just a way of reintroducing Roman to the world again after his break. This time they actually had a proper kind of story. They had proper tension there. It's the only match on this card they properly built any kind of tension between the opponents on. So it does help to have that kind of feud ongoing when you come in the match. I didn't like the ending. I didn't like the finish.
Really?
No, I didn't like Jey Uso getting involved. It just felt, I would have preferred, like, I don't mind the low blow and stuff happening behind the ref's back, anything like that. But Jay coming in and super kicking him, I just thought it was a little bit much almost. And I think it just took the edge away from it. Yeah, I would happily see this again down the line with a proper build again. And as someone said, it could main event in WrestleMania one day. Maybe not next year, maybe the year after, but I'm happy to see this again. I think Drew still looked very good coming out of it. I think you have two stars of the company right there. And I've always criticized WWE for not being able to make stars in this modern day era, but Drew, Roman, I think they have actually started to create two stars at the level of your Cenas, your Ortons, your past.
It's getting there. It's getting there. I agree.
One question though: what does everyone actually think of Drew McIntyre's entrance?
With the sword?
Yeah,
I really like it.
It's creative.
I think it looks so cheesy.
Well, yeah,
If they do
it's
it for just
supposed
big
to
shows,
be. Like,
I think it's fine. They're doing it all the time.
Yeah, it's just like the one-off. If it's just a pay-per-view entrance, I don't mind it. It's just like when he comes out on Raw and does it, I'm just like, really? Come on.
Nick, let's go to you so you can follow up and then continue with your thoughts.
Yeah.
Go, Nick.
Yeah, with the entrance, I agree. I think they could have just kept it as like a one-off. If they're doing it every single week, it kind of loses the meaning of it. It just looks a bit crap if they keep doing it every week. The match was fantastic, and I actually really liked the ending. I think they made Drew look really strong by kicking out. I think it was 2 or 3 spears he kicked out of at some point.
He kicked out of a lot of them,
maybe 2 more in the ring. Yeah, and then he hit the Claymore. Obviously, knocks the ref out, so that kind of protects his finisher as well. And then Roman got so desperate that he needed to hit the low blow. Jay came out and hit the super kick, and then he made him pass out. I just thought it was a really good story the whole way through, and I think it was Michael Keys in our chat said that they're this generation's Austin Rock. It's a bit early to say that now.
Yeah,
I think going forward they possibly could be because they've got such good chemistry together. They're clearly the 2 biggest stars in the company. You got Roman as your big heel, Drew as your big baby face, and they've just got a really good blend together. That I think they could work really well together.
Yeah.
That obviously everyone knew that Roman was pushed as a baby face. Nobody wanted to cheer him. Drew now is like perfect foil, I think.
Right, and I mean, like to go with Michael's thoughts. I mean, yeah, I do think it's early. I think it's very early to say the next Rock Austin because I think what also benefited Rock and Austin was the fact that there were no brand splits, right? Which helped them to build their storyline even further. You know, they had something on Raw, and then let's see what happens Thursday night to see what was going on then, right? I think they were very fortunate with that situation. in saying that, it
Yeah.
could be, but I just need to see where it keeps going and see where the direction these two end up. If they were to end up on the same brand, yes.
Yeah.
But again, like to be, I think because Cena Orton as well also benefited from being on Raw, right? Same with their story. Like, well,
maybe
and
you
the
can
problem in
compare
this day and
Cena
age.
Batista. But yeah,
Yeah.
Batista on
The problem in
SmackDown,
this
Cena
day and
on
age.
right, yeah, they could be there. Yeah, I feel like, yeah, I think Pete's right. I think Batista, Cena could benefit them because they were stars on their respective brands and they were built up and then had their great storylines within their brands. But for the I mean, and then only and Cena Batista only clashed, I think, after that fact, and it was after like the brand split was essentially dead.
Yeah.
So it's early to tell, but I like the potential. But again, I don't. It's too hard to tell. Maybe it never even happens to be like the next Rock, Stone Cold. But
I think the problem in this day and age is with wrestling fans now. You sort of, if they have sort of 3 or 4 matches over the next year or so, people are going to go, "Oh, they're pushing them down our throats. I don't care. They're doing it too much." Whereas when it was Austin and Rock, people didn't have social media. They didn't complain as quite as much.
well, and it was a 2-year interval too, right? I mean, it wasn't even like
It wasn't every, like Cena Orton was sort of every pay-per-view for
every
a long
pay-per-view.
time,
Yeah,
people just got sick of it. I don't want them to do that. I want them to sort of have this match, leave it for a bit, and then have a bit of a build before they do the next one. They don't have to have a match at every single pay-per-view.
Honestly, it should main event Mania 38.
yeah,
but not next year, the year after.
No. RJ.
Yeah, just to kind of agree with what you guys said, I really like the match too. One of my favorite Roman straight up singles matches probably ever, because I've always liked Roman in like gimmick matches for sure and in multi-man matches, but I've always said that I've never really loved a straight up Roman one-on-one match. I really love this match. I was a big fan of both of these guys. They both looked really strong. They both look like stars. And to just kind of add to what Pete and Nick said about the ending, I'm kind of in the middle of you two because I don't think that I think that they had Joe get Uso Jay get involved because obviously they wanted to protect Drew a little bit and they wanted to further that Jay's storyline because obviously he lost Roman's trust a little earlier in the night. Came back after he said for him to go home. So I know they wanted him to, get that going a little bit, but I feel like Drew could have taken the loss with just a low blow, and it might have been a little bit more of a less kind of fall flat finish for me. I think that was kind of something that Pete was kind of getting at. I still really like the match. I think the finish makes sense with the storyline going forward, but I think a quick low blow and then just a final spear and a finish might have been more of just like a good solid finish for me, and would have made the match a little bit better. But I know I really like the match. Big fan of the match. Both guys look strong, and I'm actually really interested to see where both champions kind of go from this point forward because I both think they're at a very strong point right now, even though Drew lost.
Yeah, and I think to RJ's point, before we move on, I think that's also why I kind of like the ending a little bit more when Jay got involved, because eventually these two will go their own separate ways until maybe the next encounter, which I don't think it's a Royal Rumble, but they go their own ways. Right. And so obviously you got to continue with what happened with before with Jay. You got to build on that somehow. And then Drew's got his own thing going on. So that's why I think it kind of made sense. But at the end of the day, yes, it's just incredible. And it definitely deserves I think I got a 4.5, I think, from Daddy Meltzer.
Did this get rated already?
How's it got rated, guys?
I don't think so yet.
Not yet?
I think usually just on Wednesdays.
Then never mind. Then I'm going crazy. Let's go on to let's go on to the pseudo main event, or if you want to call it the main pseudo, I guess. Well, it closed the night. The closing segment. Thank you. The Undertaker's goodbye, his final farewell. 30 years. It's funny. I didn't even realize that the night of that November 22nd was the actual day of that Survivor Series in 1990. I thought people were just saying just 30 years just because it's 30 years. Right? I didn't realize it was to the point, to the day. Good on them. Look, I've had a couple days to process it because I've heard the great of the positives that people like from the event, and I understand the negatives, and the negatives to me right now are slowly outweighing the positives, but I did enjoy it overall. Obviously, the legends coming out, just each of them one by one. Obviously, it's great to see some old faces again, some very old faces like the Godwins. I did not expect at all. The Godwins, I know I did hear about Savio Vega, but the Godwins just made me laugh. I'm like, oh, okay. Thank goodness that one of the Godwins did not come out as naked Midian, but here we are. And then and then like Taker began, and of course he had the Tesla coils to kind of like give like the electricity version of the theme, and the Taker coming out, and the Taker didn't not saying much. The video package was amazing, but like, I don't think I need to be said. And then Taker comes out, doesn't say much. He's like, "Thank you. It's time for me to rest in peace," and then walks out. I know a lot of people were disappointed by it. To me, I guess the reason why I liked it so much was that is at the end of the day just what Taker was all about. The dead man gimmick, especially, just like he didn't say much when he came out. It was very mystique. There was nothing. There was never really like he wasn't. It wasn't a character. He has to like have like a big crowd come out, applaud, like stand at the roster stand at the stage and say thank you. Whatnot, the emotional music, whatnot. It was just this was always the dead man persona. Simple, all alone. Let me take care of business, and then let me just do it. Right. It was never like this big commotion, big extravaganza, which is why I think this suited the Undertaker for what it was. Obviously, I didn't like that. You had like 20 guys come out, and then just kind of just stand there and just do nothing. Kane in his attire, which is hilarious. He looked like he got pranked. He looked like he got ready. The way he came out is like, "You sons of bitches! I can't believe I'm the only one that did this, you bastards." So it's like I get part of where even the Godfather on his Instagram, a lot of fans were complaining about it, and the Godfather was like, "Yes, it could have been done. It could have been done better. Yes, I wish I said something. Yes, like I mean, like, geez, like not even 24 hours after removed from the fact, and you had like people like the Godfather complaining." I think as well. I think I also couldn't enjoy it properly because we're so conditioned to WWE to seeing something happen. I was trying to enjoy it, but for the most part, I'm like, my mind, in the back of my mind, it was emotional, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, please don't have anybody come out. Please don't have anybody ruin this. I was talking to RJ. I'm like, somebody's gonna come out, aren't they? A cousin of mine, he's like, he was hoping that the Fiend came out, put the mandible claw on him, and then have him exit the ring. And like when the lights turn off, just the hat remains in the ring because the Fiend got him. I'm like, God, please don't. No. I don't want that. And it was so hard to properly enjoy, I guess, the quote unquote retirement. And at the end of the day, or after all those years of like, when is it going to happen? WrestleMania 30, WrestleMania 33, WrestleMania 36, 34, 31. It's like, is it that's it? It's like, is this really it? It's like, oh, we made it. At the time, like at the time of this recording, he's like, we made it. Like, okay. And it's like, that's it. It's over. No more complaining back and forth if he's going to come back or not. It's like, that's it. But you also don't know. So it's like, I liked it for what it was, but I do agree that at the end of the day, like, I think just because of the past and just because of what we're so used to seeing in WWE, like Sami suit, Mark Henry and all that, is like, you expect something stupid, but it didn't. So, RJ?
Yeah, this bored me to tears, guys. Like, I'm sorry. I was so bored by this segment, man. Like, I changed the channel almost. Like, I think if this wasn't the main event segment, this may have been received a little better, because I had just finished watching a really good match between Drew and Roman, and I'm like, that was my main event. Like, this show is over. I almost forgot about this segment, and then all of a sudden they're like, another 45 minutes of this pay-per-view, because they just kind of did this long, dragged out segment that I didn't really care to see at that point, to be completely honest with you. And they bring out 20 former legends, all do their entrance. They cut to a video package, and then they're all gone, and Vince is standing in the ring. Like, what was the point of that? I didn't understand that. And honestly, I know you were saying, like, I hope something doesn't happen. I was sitting there thinking, I hope something does happen, because I was honestly like bored to tears watching this. I just felt like I didn't need to watch that. I was honestly waiting for the Fiend. Like, I would rather have seen the Fiend come out. Like, I'm happy that it's over with. I'm happy he retired, but I feel like I was bored with it. Sorry.
No, it's fair. I mean, there were people in our group chat getting emotional, rightfully so. Pete, Nick, in our chat, like, people were getting emotional because, again, this is the guy that we all grew up with, right? I mean, at some point in our, like, whether we started like in the mid 90s or the early 2000s, or like, even today, it's like, hey, this is something that we've grown and seen. The guy just like become such an integral part of this company, and it's like, oh, okay. And I don't know. I wouldn't call it boring, because again, I guess I was into it. And I mean, even the Paul Bear hologram, I thought was nice. But
yeah, I did want to mention that. I did really like that piece.
I thought that was a great touch.
At the end, I thought that was a really nice touch. But I just, overall, before that, I'm just like, why is this really even going on right now? Like, this could have happened earlier in the show on Raw, like a different
earlier
time,
in his career.
Earlier in his career, yeah. Like, I wasn't into it at all. Like, it just
Yeah.
fell flat for me. Like, I feel like they could have done it in a more exciting way or at a different time. It just didn't work.
Nick?
I agree with RJ. It was really, really underwhelming. They could have done so much more with this. This is probably the guy who is probably the best character in the history of wrestling. And the way he says goodbye is you have 20 guys come out into the ring, don't say a single thing about him, and then just disappear after he comes in. They spent longer on people coming out for entrances than they did in the ring speaking. It was just really odd. And the fact that we didn't get to hear "You're Going to Pay" one more time is an absolute travesty. I wanted to hear that theme song one more time. Just let me have it, damn it. I wanted to hear it one more time.
Thank you.
But yeah, I liked, like you said, I thought it was quite funny that Kane come out in gimmick and the rest of them were just kind of in suits. I hope they kind of ribbed him backstage for that, because that really made me laugh. They could have just done so much more. I know the situation, obviously with COVID and stuff, they can't really do much in front of fans, but I just feel like they could have done so much more. They could have just had them sort of, all the guys in the ring, they could have had a few of them just tell a few stories about him. I liked the video package. Video package was fantastic as always, and the Paul Bearer tribute at the end was really good. But other than that, I was like RJ, I was bored. And like you said, because we're all so conditioned to what WWE do, I was convinced something was going to happen, whether it was going to be The Fiend or Sting or something. I'm glad they didn't. But for me, WrestleMania 33 should have been the end of it.
Yeah.
I know he said in the Austin interview on the last Friday, he didn't want that to be his last match because he thought it was not the way he wanted to go out.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. He's a very prideful guy.
That could have been this. Yeah, the match was irrelevant. It was the moment after when he left his gear in the ring. They should have just left it there and let him ride off. And please don't bring him back now. Let him retire. There's people saying now. I said to you in the group chat, people were saying, "Oh, well, he said the Undertaker. It's time for him to rest in peace." And people were going, "Oh, well, that means Mark Calloway could come back and wrestle." No, let the man go. He's gone. He's had 30 years. Let him rest.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, like, these are also like, I mean, the people that are saying that are like, like, I guess like the diehards, right? And again, rightfully so. Obviously, you never want to see, your favorite retire. I mean, like, I was sad when HBK left. I mean, like, I was sad when Edge left the first time, right? It's like, I mean, and like in those situations, okay, you want to let them rest, or in Edge's case, you don't want to see him get hurt, right? So it's like, okay, it's okay, right? And we've already had so many great memories in the last 30 years. I mean, who can forget Undertaker committing a live murder at WrestleMania 15 by hanging somebody, right? It's like, it's memorable. And yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, I don't want to see him come back as he retired the dead man, but you can bring him back as the American badass. I'm like, no, guys, that's it. It's time. And that's why I'm hoping for, like, I mean, and to your point, before we get to Pete, I do wonder like how this would have been if we were in a regular situation, right? Like, if we were in a regular situation, the fans were there, right? It would have been way more emotional because, like, holy crap, the fans were admiring him one more time, and you can see Taker choking up. He still did, mind you. He was still choking up. He was still like, it felt like he was struggling to find the words to say that's it. But with fans, obviously, you're like, oh boy, like I think it could have been even bigger than what it was, but it probably would have been. But Pete, close us off.
Honestly, I thought this was almost outright disrespectful. How this segment was done for Taker. It was bad. In my view, it was outright bad. As Nick said, this is the biggest legend in probably WWE history, but maybe the biggest legend in wrestling history. And you gave him a crap 5-minute segment at the end of Survivor Series, 7 months after his last match in the company, which doesn't help because it doesn't feel like he's retiring. It felt like he retired 7 months ago now.
Yeah.
So why didn't you could have dedicated like the entire Raw after WrestleMania to The Undertaker and done something like that. As I already mentioned, the wrestlers coming out, then just disappearing is just the wrong order. You have Undertaker come out, do his speech, and then you have the wrestlers come out one by one to congratulate him, thank him, and say goodbye. Like, I think back like Ric Flair's retirement. You think of Shawn Michaels' retirement. You think of Edge's retirement and stuff. They were so emotional, so well done. And this just wasn't. And there were points where you got a little bit emotional, but at the same time, it wasn't the same. And it just didn't feel like you gave this guy the same respect. And you could have done it two ways. You could have done WrestleMania 33, where you gave him a dead man exit, where he put his hat down, you gave him the iconic things, and he just disappeared into the ground. And you can give him that mystique exit. or you give him the no frills Ric Flair exit where everyone comes out and thanks him. You have all the crowd, you have everyone do it, and just say this guy's an icon and everything like that. And they went somewhere in the middle, and it just didn't really make sense. I even thought the Paul Bearer hologram was tacky. I thought it just didn't look right. It would have been better if you almost gave like a 30-second tribute video to Paul Bearer and have like a rest in peace Paul Bearer on the thing. I think would have looked better than a weird hologram. I just thought it looked odd. I thought the Tesla coils were weird. Kevin Nash came out and they couldn't even remember which Mania they fought him at. The commentary team. It was none of it just worked for me. Like the only good part about this, in my opinion, was the video package, which I think deserves credit. Like WWE's video production team is fantastic. And the fact no one attacked him. They were the only two good bits for me. And I just, no, it was bad. And in my opinion, you've just said goodbye to the biggest legend in WWE history. And yes, that makes me a bit emotional myself, because obviously I loved Taker at the times and growing up. But you've just said goodbye, in my opinion, to the biggest legend in WWE history. You've done it in a ridiculously underwhelming way. And that makes me...
I do like your point about having Taker come out and then every the legends coming out one by one, because obviously they told him to get out of the way because of the pyro. I mean, even then, I mean, you don't even really need the pyro at the ring. You could have just had like his friends all just standing ringside as he was doing that. You know, just keep them there because they were so big and integral in his career. I mean, and yeah, I mean, like I said, I do understand.
That's like the thing they did for Ric Flair when they had him is, I think it was Triple H in the ring with Ric Flair, and he was going, you can't just say goodbye like that. Here's all the people who
here's everybody else. Yeah, no.
And introduce them one at a time. It was like, here's the Four Horsemen,
yeah.
Here's Shawn Michaels, here's all like, and that was brilliantly done. In terms of, you could see Flair getting emotional. It made you emotional as each of these people came out to thank him and congratulate him. And you could have just done the same thing there. And Kane in his gear is just hilarious, but still.
Yeah,
if you want to do the sad emotional thing, you make him the man. And if you want to do the Taker thing, you do WrestleMania 33 and you make that it.
I will
you
say,
do this weird middle ground where it was kind of like half kayfabe, half not, and it just really. And Vince's speech was just a bit odd to me as well.
He said WWF.
He did.
F.
Fuck.
He hasn't said F in years. Look, I did find it funny that I was getting more emotional of like the surprise appearance that he made the night after WrestleMania, because I mean, one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to go to a Mania was to see Taker in person, to get like that Taker Mania entrance. Obviously, when it didn't happen, you know, I remember leaving MetLife going, okay, it happened. My dream still came true. Obviously, it wasn't like I didn't get that, but you know, I'm happy that I finally did one. So the night before, the surprise and him coming out was just epic. So that's why I got more emotional over that, like having that moment than this itself. But and it kind of makes you wonder what's going to be the Hall of Fame situation next year, if there is going to be one, given a pandemic. If they're still going to, I mean, they still got to induct this year's class into, I guess formally, if you want. I don't know if they're going to give them a proper induction. And if they don't, then yeah, okay, you have a new class. And if it is going to be headlined by the Undertaker, that's where you hope to have fans. And you know, they are going to Tropicana now for the Thunderdome. If that is where WrestleMania is going to be, then you can have fans there spottedly, because Florida doesn't give a damn about their COVID rules, and give them I guess like an even more proper goodbye. But again, like, yeah. So
I think Mania have fans, in some capacity.
It probably will, I think.
And they want fans at the Rumble, and obviously there's the vaccine potentially on the way as well. So
never forget that a group of us, we were deciding to go to Los Angeles, and it's all went down the drain. Bastards. Well, gentlemen, we're going to wrap it up here, because obviously we went extremely over. Thank you guys, as always. At the end of the day, I think Survivor Series was just disappointing. Bad. Nick?
Saved by 2 matches.
Yeah, agreed. Saved by 2 matches.
RJ?
It went exactly as expected. We didn't care for it, and then the matches were fine, but no reason to care. So, I mean, that's just pretty much... It went the way I expected it to.
Well, we'll leave it at that. Gentlemen, thank you. And as always, let's get to the closing. You made it today in the episode. You made it to the end, and Survivor Series, like I said in the beginning, just a disappointment. We put it behind us in the rearview mirror and just, I guess, look ahead to December. Next week, we go to our new normal now with segments discussing what's hot in the world of wrestling. So we're going to see what's making headlines, what are people talking about, and discuss that. So as always, that is that thank you so much for watching. Become a patron, help support the podcast, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, available wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe and like. I'm Jose Taboada, and we will see you guys next week. Have a great one. Bye.